Hi friends, my name is Al or Lilstarnerd. Welcome to today's video. I have finished another sketchbook. Slay. Yeah, the sketchbook is done. I have one more spread to do, the last spread. And this time I'm actually, okay, so I am lying because the thing is I'm not actually painting the last spread. When I tend to make these little pockets in the back of my sketchbook to hold like stuff, people send me business cards, whatever. And I got Party Frog stickers, and one was a test one, and they had stuck something to the sticker itself, and I couldn't use it for anything, so I peeled that little thing off, and I was like, oh, I'll just put it in the back. And I didn't realize the sticky stuff would be so sticky, and so like it literally ripped a hole through the paper. So I can't really use the last spread. Could I use this page? Yeah, I could use the other page, but then it wouldn't be a spread, and I for some reason needed it to be a spread. So I'm just skipping the last one. So today we're doing the second to last spread, and we're just gonna call it the last spread. I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do, so I put it up to a vote and I asked like what medium I should use, and by a hair, gouache won. Like it was very close between markers and gouache, and I was honestly kind of hoping for markers, but people thought it would be cool to see like the same medium for the first spread used as the last spread, and I have to say I like that idea too. So we're going with gouache. I had this idea, I took some pictures, I really like how the pictures turned out, and I'm gonna try to paint one of them. And that's what we're doing, we're painting a picture. However, before we get started, I would like to thank my patrons for supporting me, and I would like to thank FlexiSpot, today's sponsor. You guys know I've worked with FlexiSpot before in the past. They have been a great support to my channel. I love them. Thank you, FlexiSpot. They have been supporting me since like way back in the beginning. They sent me one of my first ever like professional desks. It's a Comhar all-in-one standing desk, and I got my use out of that. I do still have it, I just don't use it in my studio. But as you guys know, what I do use in my studio is this standing desk. I cannot state enough how much this desk has changed my life as a creator and as someone who works from home. In almost every single studio vlog, you guys, and honestly almost every video, you guys see me working here, whether it's prepping paper, because I need a big space for that, whether it's packing orders, because again, I need space. Like I use this desk every day as part of my routine. Being able to stand up while working is honestly such a game changer. I sit a lot, like a lot of my job is sitting, and being able to come over here and stand and like be more active, it genuinely helps me so much. The desk obviously has a keypad for, you can have memory settings, and it also has a USB port. It charges my phone so fast. I use it all the time because all of my outlets are used for other things to film. So having this to be able to plug my phone into is amazing. I really just cannot stress enough how much having this desk has like changed my space. I think it looks so beautiful. It makes my space like look professional and really pretty. And it just like works so like, I literally cannot stress enough. I have really bad back problems. It's helped my back problems. Being able to stand and work is amazing. If you are someone who works from home, you're a creative and you spend a lot of time in the same place or sitting at one desk, I really cannot like recommend a FlexiSpot standing desk enough to you. I think it is an amazing investment in your physical artist health, your work from home efficiency and routine, and honestly, the aesthetics of it. If you are in the market for a standing desk, which if you don't have one, you should be in the market, but you do have a limited budget, FlexiSpot is a great option. All the links you need will be down below, so please go check them out. And also keep in mind that when you buy a desk, it does have a 30-day risk-free return policy, so if you don't like it, you don't have to keep it, but you will like it. Thank you so much again to FlexiSpot for supporting me and my channel for so long, and other creatives like me, and giving me an amazing desk that has changed my life as an artist. With all that being said, let's start painting. Let's go. So it's the last sketchbook spread, another sketchbook done. The first sketchbook of the year is officially complete. This sketchbook was such an interesting journey. If you saw my last video, you'll know a bit about this. But a little more than halfway through the sketchbook, I was kind of flipping through it and I realized like, wow, I don't really remember doing most of this stuff. Like I had no real connection to any of it. It all just felt kind of there, I guess. And so after that point, I really tried to take the time to like enjoy my sketchbook. If you don't know, I've been doing this thing for I think over a year now, where I use this same sketchbook, the Strathmore Mixed Media, because it's my favorite sketchbook, and I complete it within 3 months. It's not really a crazy burden on me. That timeline fits pretty well in my schedule. It encourages me to draw more frequently, and it means I can put out more sketchbook tour videos, which really helps my channel overall. So it's generally a positive for me. However, for the past 2 sketchbooks, I've really struggled with the time limit. And like I said in the last video, I know that the logical thing to do would be to leave behind the 3-month rule. But the thing is, I'm really stubborn. I just don't feel the need to quit yet when so far I've still been able to scrape by and meet the deadline. The thing is, the period of my life in which I kept this sketchbook and the one before, the ones that I struggle with, I was really busy with just about every possible thing I could be busy with. Personal stuff, family, friends, money, work, a messed up car, like anything. I just didn't have time to be working in my sketchbook on a really regular basis. This time limit essentially requires me to draw like 2/3 of the month, so not exactly every day, but pretty close. Which, like I said, normally that's not a big deal. Normally that does fit into my schedule pretty well. Between making YouTube videos, designing products or Patreon stuff, doodles, whatever, and then actual sketchbook work, I could pretty comfortably get through the sketchbook. But lately, it's like I don't really have time for art, and any art that I did wasn't stuff that would really go in my sketchbook or whatever. And now, hopefully, that will not be the case. Hopefully, that has changed. In general, I do really enjoy the 3-month period for my sketchbook. It keeps me motivated, it keeps me moving, it keeps me from falling into a rut, I guess, and it encourages me. I don't want to stop it just because it was a bit hard for a few months, But I do also recognize that if my schedule does continue to be like this, and my experience in my sketchbook keeps being the same, where I'm stressing and trying and scraping by, that could very easily lead to burnout. At that point, it wouldn't be sustainable anymore, and I've got to take care of my art health, So stubborn or not, if this continues to be my sketchbook experience, I'm going to have to adjust my plans a bit. But anyways, this sketchbook specifically, like I said, the first half or so, I didn't feel any sort of connection to the work I did. Obviously, some pieces I do love. I still love that first page of the Cars album. I see the value and the fun that I did have in some of the doodles or experiments. Like, I'm not saying that I don't like the stuff in the sketchbook. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, if I weren't looking at the spreads in front of me, I would not remember a single thing I had done in the sketchbook. I forgot the Cars album was in this sketchbook until I flipped through it to remind myself. I just don't feel a connection to any of this art. I actually do like a lot of it, objectively. I like a lot of the doodles and spreads and the ideas I had. There's just a major lack of excitement that I miss with my art. Like when I do something that I really like, that I feel connected with or whatever, that piece will live in my head rent-free for days. I will leave it out so I can look at it whenever I pass by my desk. I'll just sit there and stare at it. But with this sketchbook, except for the first page, there wasn't much of that going on at all. There's nothing in the first half of the sketchbook that I was inspiring myself with or coming back to like I normally do. So I reached this point where I realized man, this sketchbook might be a flop because I couldn't think of anything good that I had done. It was like I had kept this whole sketchbook in a fugue state, and I realized there was a decent chunk I still had to get through, and I wasn't sure I would be able to finish it in time. And so I set out to do my last video where I set aside a week or so to just dedicate to having fun in my sketchbook. The thing is, relearning to love my sketchbook was one of my goals for this year, which I had totally forgotten about, but it lined up really well for me. I really tried to focus on feeling more grounded with my sketchbook. I wanted to stay intentional, but it wasn't about being purposeful with my art or sketchbook. I wanted to be more present with it, Does that make sense? I wanted to do the art that I wanted to do, not stuff that I felt that I had to do, or art that would be useful or whatever. It was art that I was enjoying doing, wanted to do in the moment, and wanted to remember that I had actually done. So that's kind of what I mean by intentional. I hope that makes sense. Not purposeful, but intentional. And I think it worked out really well. I think I definitely was able to take my first step back towards really enjoying my sketchbook. I really enjoyed the rest of my time in my sketchbook since that little challenge, although, to be fair, there wasn't much time left. I ended up using plenty of pages, and then what was left was actually used up by figure studies that I did. And that's a huge thing that happened in this time period of this sketchbook. I started my first ever live drawing class. It's not a class, but I don't know what else to call it to really convey what it is. But every Monday for 3 hours, I go to this open studio and do live figure drawing, and it's super, super fun. It's my first time ever doing live figure drawing, my first ever official organized drawing group/class thing at all. It's really cool. I'm having such a great time. But yeah, quite a few of the pages at the end of the sketchbook are used up from just one session of this open studio. Because we did a bunch of 2-minute studies, then a few longer poses, and yeah, those took up like a lot more pages than I expected. I really want to carry this energy to the next sketchbook. I really want to focus on enjoying my sketchbook, enjoying the process, making art that I want to make, being creative and impulsive, and doing stuff that just makes me happy. It's hard to explain how that's different than what I have been doing in recent sketchbooks, because I have done that before. But it's like at that time, what I wanted to do was different. My goals were different. My regular work schedule was different. Before, that meant a lot of things like swatching and having fun and doing like small little things. It's so hard because it's like when it's your hobby, your passion, and your job, you have to juggle so many things. And you just frankly don't have time for all of it. I really want to try and do a little bit of everything that makes me happy. I've been neglecting some mediums. There are some mediums I'm still just sort of branching into that I'd like to dedicate time to. I'd love to keep working on portraits, but I'd also love to work on my skill with character work and stylization. I want to do full pieces, but I want to be sketchy and messy and silly. So it's hard, you know, it's a little difficult to balance. Especially because I'll get into this zone kind of where for a few days or even weeks, I just want to do the same few things. Or I only have time or energy to focus on one or two kinds of things, you know? So I feel like I can sometimes have those really high expectations of what my sketchbook should be, of what I should be able to accomplish. I think that's another part of being able to enjoy my sketchbooks. I've got to learn to just embrace what my gut is telling me to do. I don't have to do literally everything all the time. I can do the same things over and over, and that won't ruin my sketchbook or make it boring. Not every single sketchbook has to have every single medium in it. I don't have to be doing full pieces all the time. I can just, like, if I have the impulse to just draw the same thing over and over again, I should, if that's what I want to do. So overall, I think this sketchbook was actually really successful. I think a lot of the first half, even though I feel like there's something missing, I think there's a lot of good stuff there. I like a lot of what I did. And the second half, or so-ish, was just such a fun, good experience that I really enjoyed. I think this is the best I felt about a sketchbook in a while. I think there are a few really standout pieces in here. There are things that I really love, and there's not too much that I feel is straight up bad or embarrassing or doesn't interest me. So that's awesome. It's a great way to end what was a really, not bad, but very hectic and stressful period of my art life. And it makes me really excited to move into the next sketchbook. So now let's talk about the actual spread. Like I said earlier, I really had no idea what I was going to do with this. Despite feeling better about sketchbooks and my art in general lately, I'm still not exactly overflowing with ideas. So I was struggling for a long time with what I was going to do, and I figured, you know, let me start with medium. I didn't even know what medium I wanted, so I put it to a vote, and people wanted gouache, which I think is great. Actually, like, I think it worked out well, because I have been feeling like gouache has been calling to me, but I've been too lazy to actually do it. So it's good that gouache was picked. But I still didn't know like what I was going to paint. And I was like, you know, a concept I've always thought was cool is mirrors in art. And after that thought, I was like, yeah, let me just take some pictures with a mirror. So I did. I had a lot of fun, and I genuinely love how the pictures turned out, and I kind of want to take more, but like with a more concrete creative vision and more effort. I think the colors, the concept, like I really like the photos. I think they're really cool. So, you know, I picked my favorite from the photos, and that was that. Like, that was literally the entire thought process behind this piece. Just like, oh, you know what? I like mirrors. Let me take a picture in front of a mirror. I did some random stuff in front of a mirror, and boom, here we are. This is a great example of a piece where I wish I had someone else to model for me. Don't get me wrong, I love to do self-portraits, but I don't love to use myself as a model. I feel like people like see that and will prescribe some sort of meaning to the piece just because I'm in it. Like for this one, especially it being kind of a moody color palette and expression and pose, people might interpret it in some sort of way in which maybe there's some internal struggle, right? Or there's some negative feeling there. There's not. There's not at all. There's no feeling whatsoever. I just think mirrors are cool and that the picture would be boring if I wasn't doing something in it, right? Like I had to do something. And I feel weirdly uncomfortable with people seeing me in this piece and interpreting something negative, but I wouldn't mind at all if it were someone else in the photo. You can think whatever you want if it's someone else. But yeah, right now I feel like I need to tell you all very explicitly that there is no meaning behind this piece just because I'm in it. I did start with a grid. I'm kind of wondering if I'm getting a bit dependent on grids. I can still do small things without them, like generally like in a single page in my sketchbook, I don't need a grid. But even like for this piece, I felt the need to use one. Although, to be fair to myself, I was doing a complicated thing. Like it's a reflection, that's complicated, right? And either way, I honestly don't mind relying on grids because I think they're a really great tool and I don't feel like it, messes me up outside of that. Like tracing, I feel like tracing is something that I would not want to rely on. But I feel like a grid isn't that bad. The sketch was really fun. Of course, I didn't film it. As I'm sure you guys know by now, I just can't sketch successfully on camera. And also the red pencil barely shows up, so, why bother? But yeah, it was fun. The photo and the composition and the values are all so interesting in this photo. So it was just really like a fun time to map out and sketch and spend time on. The whole process of the spread was a little rocky. Overall, it was good. I did enjoy it because, I love using gouache and I really liked the photo. But oh my god, the ugly faces were ugly with this piece. It was so rough, I swear. I would get stuff down and I'd be like, okay, great. And then I'd move on to the next step, which would mess up the first step. And then I'd have to go back to fix that. And then it would get all messed up and all look so ugly. But eventually I managed to pull it together. There were definitely some areas that took a lot of work and lots of layers. Like the shadow cheek is super patchy and thin, and I just could not build up the value and blend it in. Like I could not do both. Obviously, that's because I was using cheaper gouache, but I also really like these jelly gouache sets. They have like perfect colors. This set specifically had the exact colors I needed for this piece, so I definitely wanted to use this set, even though of course it meant compromising a bit on quality and dealing with that issue, throughout the whole piece. There were definitely moments I looked at it and thought, how the hell am I going to pull it together? I think most of the turning point moments where I was able to save it, right, those were off camera. I definitely have to do that sometimes where I just really need to focus and hunch down and get super close to the paper. And having the camera on is honestly so distracting. So yeah, sometimes I have to do the heavy lifting off camera, which I know is like frustrating. It's frustrating for me too, but the camera really does get in the way of me being able to fully focus on the piece. But yeah, I did have those moments of being like, how is this gonna pull together, right? But I just kind of crossed my fingers and relied on my method of having really choppy and messy foundations and using detail on top to pretend it's polished. I think like the hair wispies actually helped a lot with that. It covered some of the really choppy and poorly blended areas. There are some areas of this piece that are a bit weak, they're messy, some colors don't really match, but overall I think this is a successful last spread for the sketchbook. And you guys were right, it is really cool to have the first and last piece be in the same medium, so they're like little benchmarks in this process. Okay, I'm done. I literally just stopped painting. Just stopped. So I'm still in my painting sweatshirt. I look disgusting, but you get what you get. Yeah, I don't know. I feel pretty good about it. I think there's some issues, obviously. It's really patchy, especially in that cheek. You can see it really bad. Like the hand. This hand is a totally different color than my face, which is kind of true in like life. So like, I don't know. I had a really good time in this process, but there were definitely times that I was ready for it to be done. I was rushing, I was impatient, but overall I did have a good time. I really liked the photo that I took for it. I like the piece itself. I think it's really cool. I like it. I think it's very moody, very interesting. I really like the colors. You guys know I love doing self-portraits, and especially I always love to do my hair. I think my hair looks cool. And so I had a really good time painting it. The little wispies. I like it. I think this part, so I really struggled. I was just really struggling with the gouache to get it to look good and blend well. And I really thought that I was gonna flop. I really thought it was gonna be bad. And I ended up pulling through, and I actually think it looks really, really good. Specifically this face. I think this face looks really good. My neck looks really thick, but that's what it was in the photo. Maybe I got a thick neck, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know, there's not much to say. I had a good time. The sketchbook is done. I finished the sketchbook. So you guys know what comes next. Next up is the sketchbook tour. If you don't want to miss that, I know you guys love sketchbook tours, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification button thing so you don't miss the next upload. And of course, after that is the next sketchbook, which, spoiler alert, I will not be using this same sketchbook, which is an exciting plot twist. So yeah, make sure you subscribe, stay tuned, because fun stuff is coming. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, comment, subscribe, the whole shebang. Also, shout out to FlexiSpot. Thank you again for sponsoring this video. You guys are amazing. Check out FlexiSpot. All the links will be down below. Anyways, go wash your hands, drink some water, and go do some art. Bye.